And as you can see, it's a major problem, a massive concern for all the homeowners that live in that area. Not necessarily limited to the ones that are backed up right to that creek, because that creek is causing property values to diminish, as you can see there. And when a home goes up for sale, it's going to sell well below what that real market value should be for that home. And right now, as a matter of fact, we have one of those homes up for sale, and it is well below, and people still, nobody's put a contract on it. It's a beautiful home. What that does, and I don't know how familiar you are with real estate, but all the surrounding comps for an area helps base the price of that house that's going up for sale, or gives you that market value. And if one home goes down, or if two homes go down in price, all the homes in that area are going to suffer from it. So, we have several people. I've brought up a group with me from our area here to represent Pepper Tree Village, basically.
How old is the development, if we can ask?
It was built, I think the first home was put in 1985. And the majority of them were built in 1986. We started, just to give you a little background here, we started back in the 1990s, and this is before I moved into the neighborhood, sending out letters talking about the erosion. And from that point on, I think it was 2002, or 2004 is when I became involved. And that was, I think there was a story on Fox 2 News that discussed it, and you all had sent out somebody. And I did talk to the gentleman, and for the life of me, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. But when he was out, he was surprised at what he saw, but we were in the dilemma of there's no funding for it. And I think that's what everybody's been told from the 1990s all the way up through where we're at now. I know right now there's a rate commission going on, and I'm pleased with that, but we have an imminent danger at this time, because we live in a neighborhood where there are all kinds of children. There's a huge liability risk. I'm concerned. I have two children of my own, 6 under the age of 6. Within the first 20 houses right along that area, there are probably 20 children. Now, you can tell a child not to go there. You can tell a child not to look in a hole. You can tell a child not to get near it. But common wisdom tells you that as soon as you tell them not to do something, that's the first thing they're going to do. So not only do we have our own children to worry about, we have relatives to worry about, we have our children's friends to worry about who aren't so familiar with what's going on back there. And just to give you an idea, the erosion is taking place underneath, and then the land on the top is taken down. So we have a hollow area underneath the top of the land. And we even had 2 people who have accidentally put their foot through the land because there's nothing underneath it to support it. That's a concern, and that's a liability. I understand looking at this, it's going to be an expensive project. But if something were to happen, you're looking at 3 to 4 times the price of that project. And you really can't put a dollar limit on a human life either. So that's my major concern at this time. And as I was told, that the rate commission, if everything falls through like it's supposed to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Jeff, we're looking at the earliest 2010. And what do we do until then? Or what happens if somebody gets hurt until then? And I just don't know if we have that type of time to deal with. And of course our hands are tied, because we're looking, I don't have the expertise in it, and nobody in our neighborhood does either. But I want to be able to help out in trying to figure out what it is that we can do.
Well, we definitely appreciate you bringing it to our attention. I know staff is, as I said, sent your letter out.
Right.
And it's certainly up for discussion. I guess my question is, do your property lines go all the way into the creek, or is it at the top where the fence line is?
The property lines for us, it has encroached on that Yellow Homes property line. It has not encroached on everybody else's at this point, but it's still an area that's very close to our house. And once it hits our property lines, that's when it gets really, really, really dangerous.
So is the creek, Jeff, if I can ask Jeff, is the creek, do 2 subdivisions back up to both sides of Fishpot Creek here? Is this kind of common ground, or who has title to the property?
I'm assuming that is title ground that's been common ground that's been lost to date. Is that accurate though? I don't know.
For the most part, it's been common ground that's been lost at this point.
Common ground to the subdivision?
To the subdivision. And what I learned yesterday, as a matter of fact, is that, and Lance, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when we were looking at the survey of the land, wasn't it between 1905 and now, the creek bank has moved 120 feet?
Approximately 120 feet toward
Towards the homes. Okay. So it's a huge jump, and that just, I'm concerned about what's going to happen in the next 3 years. If it, you know, we might hit the backyard or the back door before.
Brian has just told me that we believe your property lines actually go into the creek now, but we haven't verified that with title work, but that is our belief.
Some
of the homes probably have. Now mine, it hasn't hit quite yet. It's hit my corner, but I'm next to mine.
All right. Now, let me take questions. John,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson first, Mr. Chairman, then the question.
I don't have so much a question. Questions we were just about the development. This was a subdivision that was built in '85.
Right, that's when it started. And I imagine the planning started in '84, '83.
Okay, and those pictures you showed us were from the '90s.
Right.
We're just wondering over here on the side table, where's the ownership of the creek? You say you refer to common ground that's owned by the subdivision?
The creek itself, I honestly don't know who owns the creek. Now, the land that's being lost is
Common ground for the subdivision?
common ground, except for some of the homes now.
Okay. Yeah, before I go any further, I just wanted to thank you for the very cogent, professional report here, and we're going to look at this very closely, obviously. I just wanted to ask staff if we have a position on this issue, or...
Well, Mr. Stockwell has stated it very well. We look at this issue as sort of the poster child for enhanced services that are in our rate proposal. It is a serious erosion problem, and left unchecked is going to continue to be a problem. The concern is funding. We collect practically no money for stormwater work in that part of the district. Now that being said, it's still an issue that we're trying to be creative about. We've had Leslie Sawyer, who's really our internal expert on creeks, out there to have a look at it just yesterday.
my next question, do we have a lot of basement damage in Upton Hills?
No, to my knowledge, there's no basement damage right now.
Thanks for an honest answer there.
Charles? Jeff, have we done any background check when that subdivision was built? Were they permitted through the district? What was the requirements that was placed on them, improvement of the creek? Or is there any, I know we had permits at the time, and we were, for lateral.
When this subdivision was permitted, it was prior to the 1989 date when the district took over that permitting. I'm assuming that it was permitted by the county.
Any background done at the county level?
Haven't investigated in detail about if there was any provisions of that design that weren't implemented. We do know that the subdivision themselves did an attempt to stop erosion sometime during the 90s, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Right, and I don't know the exact date of that. That was before, prior to.
But this is a severe erosion problem that basically took out the improvements that had been done earlier.